right now, like the entire multi-billion-dollar global hospitality industry is basically resting on the shoulders of just 7 simple English words.
Yeah, it really is kind of wild when you think about it.
It is, because if a tired traveler gets those 7 words wrong, the whole system of polite society just breaks down.
Right, the heavy machinery of international travel just sort of grinds to this really uncomfortable halt.
Exactly. And today we're looking at a fascinating document that tries to prevent that exact system failure. So, welcome to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
So today we're taking a hyper-focused look at a single piece of source material, and it's something so foundational, so seemingly mundane that anyone who travels completely takes it for granted.
Yeah, we're examining a curriculum guide. Specifically, it's a language lesson titled English Guide Hotel Check-In, Lesson 57.
Lesson 57.
Right, and the most vital piece of context for this document is its target audience, because it is explicitly labeled for the A1 level.
Meaning absolute beginner.
Ex
And to really appreciate what we're about to unpack, you, the listener, we need you to just strip away that cinematic, romanticized version of global mobility.
Oh yeah, the movie version.
Right. You know the montage I'm talking about. Someone steps off a plane in a new country, local music swells, the architecture glows.
Looking totally refreshed.
Yeah. And they just seamlessly glide into this new culture. That is like a total fiction.
Completely.
The reality of travel is a 14-hour flight in middle seat purgatory. It's recycled air, terrible coffee, and navigating this labyrinth of an airport with signs and a script you just do not understand.
Well, and the transition from the airplane to the hotel room is not a grand adventure at all. It is a period of, profound vulnerability.
Oh, 100%.
When you finally reach that hotel lobby, you're likely standing under slightly too bright lighting. You're holding all your luggage.
Sweating, probably.
Yeah, and you're experiencing a total depletion of your physical and mental resources. So your entire survival, literally your ability to secure a safe, private place to sleep for the night, comes down to this staggeringly complex, highly ritualized exchange.
Just a few syllables.
Exactly. A few syllables with a complete stranger who holds all the power in the dynamic.
It is the ultimate high-stakes linguistic proving ground. And for an absolute beginner and A1 learner, they don't have the luxury of nuance, right?
No, not at all.
Like, as adults, we're used to being articulate. We use language to show our personality, to be funny, to, demonstrate our competence.
Right, we rely on it.
But when you're dropped into an A1 language environment, all of those tools are just stripped away. You are essentially reduced to this infant-like state of pointing at things.
Yeah, and using single fractured words.
Exactly. And the loss of that adult identity is incredibly frustrating.
It is. In fact, sociolinguists refer to this as the concept of face.
Okay. Face.
Yeah, it's our public self-image, our dignity, our social standing. And when you're operating at an A1 level, your ability to maintain face is severely compromised.
Because you literally can't speak well enough to prove you're a capable adult.
Exactly. You cannot express your intelligence or your status. So you become entirely dependent on the grace, the patience, and honestly, the interpretive skills of the person listening to you.
Wow.
And that is the exact psychological state this curriculum is designed to address. The mission of this document isn't just to teach vocabulary.
Right.
It's essentially handing a drowning person a life raft.
Man, that's such a powerful way to frame it. So our mission today is to deconstruct this bite-sized English lesson.
Let's do it.
By looking at exactly how basic hotel vocabulary and these interactions are taught to beginners, we're going to uncover the hidden social scripts.
The unspoken cultural expectations.
Right, and the underlying psychology embedded in a simple hotel check-in. So, to everyone listening, I want you to mentally put yourself in that exhausted, vulnerable state.
Just completely drained.
Imagine relying on frantic hand gestures, a printed piece of paper, and maybe a handful of memorized sounds to get a bed.
It's stressful.
It really is.
Yeah.
So let's look at segment 1 of the document, which is the vocabulary list. The text curates a highly specific set of keywords for at the hotel.
Right.
And out of the thousands of objects inside a modern hotel, the list is whittled down to just 7 concepts.
Just 7. And they are the hotel, the reception, the reservation or booking, the passport, the key card, the room, and breakfast.
That curation just fascinates me. Like, think about walking into a Marriott or a Hilton. There are elevators, luggage carts, bellhops, pools, Wi-Fi passwords.
Doctor machines, concierge desks.
Yeah, restaurants, bars. But this curriculum designer distilled the entire universe of a hotel down to those 7 specific words.
Right.
Why those 7? If a beginner's brain is completely fried from a long-haul flight, what makes this specific list the absolute bare minimum for survival?
Well, we have to look at the concept of cognitive load.
Okay, what does that mean in this context?
So when an adult is learning a new language from scratch, their brain is working incredibly hard just to parse a continuous stream of audio into recognizable phones.
Right, it just sounds like a wall of noise.
Exactly. To an A1 learner, native speech often does sound like an unbroken wall of noise.
Hmm.
Their working memory, which is the part of the brain that holds and manipulates information in real time, is easily overwhelmed.
So they can't handle a huge list.
No. The curriculum designers are practicing radical lexical economy.
Ooh, lexical economy. I love that term.
They're spending the learner's very limited cognitive budget only on the words that yield the highest possible return on investment.
It's like packing a tiny carry-on bag for a month-long trip, you know? You can't bring the formal suit and the 3 pairs of shoes. You only bring the multi-purpose tools.
Exactly.
But wait, looking at these 7 words, hotel, reception, reservation, passport, keycard, room, breakfast, they aren't grouped by category. And they aren't alphabetical.
No, they aren't.
Are they chronological, like the actual physical steps you take when walking through the door?
Yes. That is the brilliance of this specific curation. It is not a random collection of high-frequency nouns. It's a literal, spatial, and temporal map of the traveler's journey.
Okay, walk me through that.
Let's trace the progression. Step 1. You arrive at the macro location. You identify the hotel.
Right.
Step 2. Once inside the building, you cannot just wander. You must orient yourself to the focal point of authority and transaction. You walk up to the reception.
Because you don't go to the lobby couch, you don't go to the bar, you seek out the reception desk.
Exactly. Step 3. You must establish your right to be in this space. You invoke the reservation.
Got it.
Step 4. You must prove your identity to validate that prior claim. So you present the passport.
Makes sense.
Step 5. The authority figure approves the transaction and grants you the physical tool of access. You receive the key card.
The physical proof of entry.
Right. Step 6. You utilize that tool to finally reach your private sanctuary. You navigate to your room. And finally, Step 7 looks beyond the immediate crisis of sleep. It ensures your biological needs will be met the following morning. You secure information about breakfast.
It's practically a physical floor plan disguised as a vocabulary list. That is so cool.
It really is.
We completely take this sequence for granted. If you're a fluent speaker, you walk in, you probably make a joke about the weather, you casually hand over your credit card.
You might ask if there are any corner rooms available.
Right, the whole thing is fluid. But for a language learner, this sequence is a rigid, load-bearing scaffold. You step on hotel, you reach for reception, you pull yourself up to reservation.
And for an adult learner whose cognitive resources are just depleted by travel fatigue, this chronological structure serves as a massive mnemonic aid.
Oh, because it's tied to physical movement.
Exactly. The human mind maps spatial and temporal journeys much more easily than abstract lists of nouns. By tethering the vocabulary to the physical act of moving through the hotel lobby, the curriculum provides a deeply intuitive roadmap.
That's fascinating. And, there's another detail in segment 1 that gives us a major clue about who is actually using this map.
No.
Yeah, the source material bridges these English concepts with Chinese translations. We see the Chinese characters for hotel, for reception, for passport.
Right, which signals the likely demographic of the learner.
Exactly.
We are looking at a curriculum designed for Chinese speakers, which is a massive, rapidly expanding demographic of global travelers and business professionals.
Yeah, and they're venturing into English-speaking environments or environments where English is just the universal lingua franca of international hospitality.
That's a crucial point. If a Chinese traveler is checking into a hotel in Frankfurt, or Dubai, or Tokyo, the front desk transaction is highly likely to default to this basic, shared English vocabulary.
Right. English has basically become the operating system of global travel.
It really has.
And alongside those 7 nouns, segment 1 also introduces 2 specific phrases. The receptive phrase, "Can I have your passport, please?" and the productive phrase, "Here you are."
Which is interesting because the curriculum is deliberately teaching the learner what to listen for, not just what to say.
Right.
In language acquisition, receptive skills like listening and reading almost always precede productive skills like speaking and writing.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, so "Can I have your passport, please?" is a string of sounds that the learner must decode as a trigger for a specific physical action.
Right, the action of reaching into their bag and handing over their documents.
Exactly.
But I want to pause on the productive phrase, here you are, because the physical act of handing over a passport is a very specific type of vulnerability.
It really is.
I mean, your passport is your ultimate document of identity. It's your proof of state protection. Handing that over to a stranger in a foreign country in complete silence, it feels incredibly stark. It feels almost subservient.
It does. It highlights the inherent power imbalance of the check-in desk, because the receptionist is the gatekeeper of shelter, and the traveler is the supplicant. Performing that physical exchange in silence emphasizes the transactional, authoritative nature of the moment.
Yeah, it feels very cool.
So the phrase, here you are, acts as a counterbalance. It softens the transaction.
Oh, I see.
It frames the moment as a polite exchange between equals,
Mm-hmm.
rather than a surrender of documents to an authority figure. It introduces rhythm, mutual acknowledgement, and a shared humanity into the exchange.
It's like the audio equivalent of a polite nod.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the most difficult part of this entire process, because having the 7 magic words in your head,
Yeah.
knowing how to hand over your passport, that's one thing.
Right.
But stringing those words together into a sentence introduces an incredibly fraught challenge. So we're moving from segment 1 to segment 2, the grammar focus.
This is where it gets really interesting.
It is, because this is where the friction between raw human need and polite society really ignites.
Yeah, segment 2 explicitly contrasts 2 different ways for the traveler to ask for their room. The text places the phrase, I want a room, in a red box, labeling it as too direct.
A red box. Okay.
And below that, in a green box, it teaches a significantly longer phrase, I have a reservation under the name, as the polite and basic standard.
Okay, I am going to push back on this curriculum designer right now.
All right, go ahead.
If I am an absolute beginner and my vocabulary consists of maybe 50 words and my brain is misfiring from jet lag, I want a room is 4 tiny monosyllabic words.
It is.
Mechanically, pulling that sentence together is a triumph. It is incredibly easy to remember. It is incredibly easy to pronounce.
True.
Why on earth would a teacher burden a struggling, exhausted learner with a sprawling 9-word multi-clause nightmare like, I have a reservation under the name blank?
It seems harsh, doesn't it?
Yeah, when the desperate, immediate goal is simply to get the key and go to sleep. Is that not pedagogically cruel?
It's a vital question, and honestly, it strikes at the core of what language actually is. Well, if we view language purely as an instrument of wrong information transfer, if we imagine human communication as just like computer code moving between 2 servers, then I want a room is highly efficient and flawlessly executed.
Right, it successfully transmits the core data packet. Entity A requires shelter from Entity B.
Exactly.
Data transferred. Mission accomplished. Give me the key.
But human language is rarely just about data transfer. It's primarily about social navigation.
Okay.
Linguists distinguish between semantics and pragmatics. Semantics is the literal meaning of the words. Pragmatics is how those words operate within a specific social context.
I see where this is going.
And in the realm of pragmatics, the phrase I want acts as a relational bulldozer.
Oh, like a bad API request between computers.
Yeah.
You sent the data payload, but you didn't send the mandatory hello handshake first, so the receptionist system throws a firewall error.
That is an excellent analogy, yes.
Yeah.
In English pragmatics, starting a request with I want establishes a purely demanding transactional dynamic. It centers the speaker's ego and desires while entirely ignoring the autonomy and humanity of the listener. It turns the human receptionist into a vending machine.
Wow.
You push the I want button and you expect a room key to pop out.
And the receptionist is a human being who has likely been standing behind that desk for 8 hours, dealing with complaints, broken key machines, and demanding guests.
Exactly.
Someone barking, I want, treats them as infrastructure. It creates immediate, visceral, social friction.
So the curriculum designer is making a highly sophisticated calculation here. They recognize that for an absolute beginner, the mechanical difficulty of memorizing and pronouncing a longer phrase is significantly outweighed by the social danger of being perceived as rude.
Ah, so failing the grammar test is forgivable, but failing the pragmatics test.
Can get you exiled from the social contract.
That makes so much sense, because if you use broken grammar, if you accidentally say, I has a reservation, but you smile and attempt a polite structure, the receptionist will likely go out of their way to decipher your meaning and help you.
Right, the social contract of hospitality is activated.
But if you use perfect pronunciation and bark, I want a room, you violate that contract.
Exactly. The receptionist may comply and give you the room, but the interaction will be cold, rigid, and strictly bound by professional duty rather than basic human goodwill.
And this dynamic is especially heightened in what anthropologists call liminal spaces, right?
Yes. Hotels, airports, train stations, these are transitional zones. They're in-between places where strangers from vastly different cultures speaking different languages are forced into immediate, close quarters interaction.
Usually under high-stress conditions.
Yes. And in these liminal spaces, shared behavioral rituals are what prevent total chaos.
So the polite phrases are essentially the guardrails keeping everyone from snapping at each other.
Precisely.
And the phrase, I have a reservation, is one of those master rituals. Let's look at the power dynamic shift between those two phrases.
Okay.
I want a room is a unilateral demand placed upon the receptionist. It is an exertion of force. But I have a reservation is an invocation of a prior agreement.
It establishes a mutual contract.
Yeah. It says, we have already agreed that I belong here. We are partners in this transaction. I am simply arriving to fulfill my end of the contract that we previously established.
Right. It completely neutralizes the demanding aspect. It replaces a demand with a statement of shared fact.
And furthermore, it accords immediate respect to the institution. It acknowledges that the hotel has a complex system, a schedule, and an order.
Yes. And by saying I have a reservation, the traveler is politely inserting themselves into that established order rather than demanding the order bend to their immediate personal desire.
It is incredible when you think about the burden being placed on an A1 learner here. They aren't just memorizing sounds. They are being quietly indoctrinated into the subtle power dynamics of global hospitality culture.
They are.
The lesson is essentially teaching them that maintaining social grace is just as fundamental to their survival as knowing the word hotel.
Because if you walk up to a front desk in London or New York or Sydney and say, I want a room, you're going to get a very specific, chilly micro-expression from the person behind the desk.
Oh, definitely. And that's a micro-expression that an A1 learner might easily misinterpret.
Right. They might think the receptionist harbors prejudice against their nationality or is mocking their accent.
When in reality, the coldness is simply a reaction to a pragmatic breach of etiquette.
Exactly. So by explicitly labeling I want as too direct in a red box, the curriculum is preemptively shielding the learner from the painful, confusing, real-world consequences of pragmatic failure.
Man, that's smart. And to demonstrate exactly how this friction plays out in real life, the curriculum doesn't just give the learner a list of rules and wish them luck.
No, it uses one of the oldest, most effective teaching tools in human history to bridge the gap between theory and practice.
Segment 3, Story Time, the morality play.
Yes, the story.
I like to call this section the Ballad of Tired Lukas.
It's a fitting title.
Right. It is a brilliantly constructed micro-narrative. Every single sentence in this short story is doing massive heavy lifting.
It really is.
The text provides explicit instructions for the teachers reading this. Read very slowly, keep sentences short and basic, and then it sets the scene immediately. Lukas is at the hotel. He is very tired. We have our setup.
We have established the universal human condition of the arriving traveler.
Yeah.
The baseline state is exhaustion.
Yeah. And then Anna is the receptionist. She says, hello, welcome to our hotel. The opening volley of institutional hospitality.
Right.
But then Lukas, our exhausted protagonist, blurts out, hi, I want to sleep. Give me a room.
And there's the pragmatic breach we just analyzed. The immediate escalation to raw, unfiltered need.
I have to say, I laugh every time I read Lukas's first line, I want to sleep, give me a room. It is the most perfect encapsulation of travel brain I have ever seen.
Oh, we've all been Lukas.
We really have. I remember a horrific layover in Frankfurt, dragging a broken suitcase over endless terminal tiles. My phone battery was dead, operating on maybe 3 hours of airplane sleep.
It's the worst feeling.
Every ounce of my being wanted to scream at the first employee I saw, give me a bed. The polite, sophisticated adult part of my brain was just completely offline.
Well, and your assessment of the polite part of the brain going offline is neurologically accurate.
Is it really?
Yes. When you're sleep deprived, navigating an unfamiliar environment and experiencing sensory overload, your brain is flooded with cortisol.
Oh, right, the stress hormone.
Exactly. Your prefrontal cortex, which is the region responsible for executive function, impulse control, empathy, and complex social maneuvering, becomes significantly impaired.
So you literally can't process politeness.
Right. You experience a mild form of amygdala hijack.
Wow.
For those unfamiliar with the term, the amygdala is the primitive emotional center of the brain that governs the fight or flight response. When it takes over, Your brain reverts to its most basic, survival-oriented functions.
You're tired, you're exposed, you need shelter.
Yes, and the linguistic manifestation of that primal state is entirely imperative. Give me, I want, sleep.
You just cut to the chase.
Right, all the sophisticated, energy-intensive social grease is stripped away because the brain simply cannot afford the caloric cost of being polite.
That's why this story is so deeply relatable. Every single listener knows exactly how Lukas feels in that moment.
Absolutely.
But what happens next in the story is where the pedagogical magic happens. The narrative literally pauses.
Yes, Anna steps out of her role as the receptionist.
Yeah, the text says, Anna whispers, Lukas, be polite. She breaks the fourth wall of the interaction to correct him. Then she resets the scene. Anna says again, welcome, do you have a reservation?
This dual-role narrative is a brilliant device. Anna operates within the fiction of the story as the gatekeeper of the resource Lukas needs. But metatextually, she functions as the omniscient, benevolent teacher.
And the whisper is everything. Lukas, be polite. In the real world, if you bark, give me a room at a receptionist, they do not lean over the counter, whisper a gentle correction, and offer you a chance to try again.
No. The real world does not give you a second take.
Exactly. They process your transaction with cold efficiency, and you leave the interaction feeling a vague sense of shame or alienation without necessarily knowing what you did wrong.
But by utilizing this whispered correction, the curriculum provides the learner with a consequence-free simulation.
Right.
It allows them to witness the pragmatic failure from a safe third-party perspective. They get to see Lukas make the mistake. Driven by travel fatigue, they get to understand why it is a mistake, and then they get to witness the corrected behavior.
Classic educational scaffolding.
Exactly. It builds a bridge between the abstract grammar rule in the green box from segment 2 and the actual lived execution of that rule.
So Lukas gets his second chance. He takes a breath, he uses the green box rule, and he says, yes, I have a reservation under the name Lukas.
And we must look at the immediate consequence of that correction.
Right. The text explicitly notes, Anna smiles. She then asks for his passport. He successfully deploys the bridging phrase, here you are. She gives him the key card, tells him his room number, and provides the breakfast time.
And the story concludes with, Lukas is happy. Thank you.
We cannot gloss over the phrase, Anna smiles.
No, this is not a throwaway descriptive detail. This is the crux of the entire pedagogical strategy.
How so?
The curriculum is explicitly teaching the learner what the true reward for linguistic politeness is. The reward for using the difficult 9-word phrase instead of the easy 4-word demand is not the physical room key.
Because Lukas probably would have received the room key even if he was rude.
Exactly. It's the hotel's business to sell reams, after all. The actual reward, the thing that transforms the interaction from a tense friction point into a success, is the receptionist's smile.
It's the restoration of social harmony.
Precisely. It is the validation that you, the foreign traveler, have successfully decoded and navigated the cultural codes of this liminal space. You've established a momentary connection of mutual respect.
And for an A1 learner who, like we discussed earlier, is acutely feeling the loss of their adult face and competence, that smile is a massive psychological victory.
It really is. It lowers what linguist Stephen Krashen calls the affective filter.
What's that?
It's the emotional wall of anxiety that prevents language acquisition. When the receptionist smiles, the anxiety drops.
It's the moment you realize, okay, I'm safe here, I belong here, the system is working.
And the narrative reinforces that this social victory paves the way for a frictionless sequence of events.
Right, the smile unlocks the rest of the spatial map we talked about in segment 1.
Exactly. Once harmony is established, the passport is exchanged smoothly, the key is provided, the room is assigned, and the biological need for the future breakfast is secure.
And the story ends with Lukas feeling happy. It is a complete cycle of tension and resolution, driven entirely by a pragmatic language choice.
It's genuinely amazing how much dense psychological and linguistic theory is packed into about 10 sentences of A1 English.
It really is. But, as we all know from our own school days, listening to a story, even a highly effective morality play like The Ballad of Lukas, is ultimately a passive experience.
It is. You can nod along, you can understand the moral, you can recognize the importance of the smile.
But when the pressure is on, when you are actually standing at the desk with your luggage cutting into your hands, passive understanding often evaporates.
To truly acquire this skill, the learner must transition from passive observation to active execution under pressure.
Which brings us to the final, and in my opinion, the most revolutionary part of this entire curriculum document. We move to segment 4, The reception game.
This is where the training wheels come off.
Oh, yeah. The concept of the game is straightforward role play. The teacher, acting as Anna the receptionist, reads a prompt. The learner, playing the role of Lucas, must formulate the correct response in real time.
It's an exercise in active recall under simulated social pressure.
Exactly. The game is structured in 3 distinct rounds. Round 1 tests the reservation concept we just learned. Anna says, "Welcome, do you have a booking?" And the learner must recall and deploy the polite structure. "Yes, I have a reservation."
Standard pattern response drilling so far.
Yeah. And round 2 tests the physical exchange. Anna says, "Can I have your passport, please?" And the learner must deploy the bridging phrase while simulating handing it over. "Yes, here you are."
So up to this point, the authority figure, the receptionist, initiates the interaction, and the learner provides the corresponding fixed phrase. It's a highly predictable, rhythmic exchange. Stimulus and response.
It feels very safe. It's like a video game tutorial where you just have to press the A button when the prompt appears on the screen.
All right, the receptionist is driving the car, the learner is just sitting in the passenger seat enjoying the ride.
But then we hit round 3, and the document explicitly labels round 3 in bold text. It calls it the trap.
This is where the curriculum elevates from basic instruction to profound cognitive training.
Let me set the scene for the listener, because the trap is brilliant.
Right.
Up until this point, the learner has been passively following Anna's lead. Answer A to question A, answer B to question B.
Right.
But in round 3, Anna hands over the invisible key card and says, "Here is your key card. Enjoy your stay."
The universal linguistic signal that the transaction has officially concluded.
The interaction is over. You have been dismissed. You are free to go to your room. But the learner is required to actively interrupt this dismissal. The correct response, the only way to win the trap, is for the learner to assertively say, "Wait, what time is breakfast?"
If we look closely at the underlying mechanics here, this is an astonishing pedagogical pivot.
It really is.
Because up to this point in the curriculum, the learner has been placed in a strictly reactive posture. The receptionist holds all the power, dictates the flow of the conversation, and the learner's only job is to be polite, compliant, and furnish the requested information.
Right.
Round 3 completely shatters that power dynamic.
It forces the learner to grab the steering wheel.
It does so by requiring the learner to utilize a very high-level cognitive skill, the recognition of omission.
Noticing what isn't there.
Yes. Let us trace the thread of this specific piece of information. In segment 1, breakfast was established as one of the 7 essential vocabulary words. It was placed in the survival kit.
Right.
And in segment 3, during the story, Anna explicitly provides the breakfast time to Lucas without him having to ask.
So the curriculum has subtly seeded the idea that securing breakfast information is a critical standard component of a successful check-in sequence.
Exactly. But in the game, in round 3, Anna deliberately forgets to provide it.
She creates an intentional informational void.
Right. And to succeed in the trap, the learner cannot be operating on autopilot. They cannot simply be matching sound patterns to memorize responses.
They have to actually be listening.
They must be engaged in intense, active listening. They must hold the macro goal of the interaction in their working memory, comparing the data they are actively receiving against their internal checklist of necessary survival data.
Wow.
And when their brain registers that the data packet for breakfast is missing, they must initiate a pragmatic interruption.
Wait, that single word is terrifying for a beginner.
It is.
Even as a native, fluent speaker, interrupting someone who is actively trying to dismiss you with an "enjoy your stay" feels socially uncomfortable. You are breaking the script.
You really are.
So for a beginner who has spent the last 30 minutes being relentlessly conditioned to be polite, deferential, and compliant, yelling "wait" goes against every instinct they have just formed.
Which is precisely why it is labeled the trap. The trap is not simply forgetting the vocabulary word for breakfast.
What is it then?
The true trap is falling into the seductive comfort of passive compliance. The lesson is teaching a profound truth about language acquisition and real-world communication. Fluency is not just about answering questions correctly when spoken to. Fluency is about self-advocacy.
Language is a two-way street. You aren't just standing there to perform verbal tricks for the receptionist's approval. You are there to ensure your own needs are met.
Exactly. And if we connect this micro-interaction to the broader scope of human communication, this is a masterclass in transactional boundary setting.
Right.
The learner must balance the strict politeness they learned in segment 2 with the necessary assertiveness required in segment 4.
It's a tricky balance.
Very. They are learning to navigate a complex social maneuver. I respect your authority as the gatekeeper. I have politely followed your script and provided my reservation and passport, but my script requires one more vital piece of data before I grant you permission to end this interaction.
I want the listener to think about how this applies to their own daily life. Think about how often you find yourself nodding along in a conversation. Oh, all the time.
Right. Maybe you're at the mechanic, or maybe you're sitting in a doctor's office. The doctor is talking fast, using jargon, and you are just saying, uh-huh, yes, thank you.
Just waiting for it to end.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't actually understand the diagnosis or the medication instructions, but you're on autopilot. You are just waiting for your turn to perform the agreed-upon exit ritual so you can leave the uncomfortable situation.
The classic take care you two dynamic of avoiding further friction.
Exactly. And then you walk out to your car, you sit down, and you realize, wait, I didn't actually get the information I needed. I don't know when to take these pills.
Because you fell into the trap of passive listening.
Yes. You prioritize the smooth conclusion of the social interaction over your own informational needs. What this seemingly simple A1 game forces is total unwavering presence in the moment.
It does.
It forces the learner to synthesize the vocabulary, the complex grammar of politeness, the shifting social dynamic, and their own internal goals, all in a fraction of a second. It is an extraordinarily sophisticated cognitive exercise, disguised as a basic classroom roleplay.
It really is.
And by choosing to end the entire curriculum document with this specific moment of self-advocacy, the designers are sending a powerfully empowering message to the learner.
They really are.
They are not leaving the learner in a state of subservience. They're saying, you now possess the tools. You understand the required rules of politeness. You have practiced the script. Now use this language to take active control of your environment.
From the deep vulnerability of silently handing over a passport to the assertive, empowered power of, wait, what time is breakfast?
It's quite the arc.
It's an entire hero's journey, an entire character arc contained within a single lesson plan. So what does this all mean when we zoom out? We started this deep dive looking at what seemed like the most mundane, disposable piece of educational material imaginable. A one-page A1 English lesson for a hotel check-in.
But by treating the text with the analytical rigor it deserves, we've uncovered a dense, multi-layered exploration of human psychology and sociology.
We track the journey from a highly curated list of 7 essential survival words, realizing it was actually a literal spatial map of the arriving traveler navigating a strange environment.
Right.
We explored the immense social and cognitive friction between the raw, exhausted urgency of "I want" and the required relationship-building politeness of "I have a reservation."
And we saw how the simple act of choosing the longer phrase prevents us from treating service workers like vending machines.
Yeah. We analyzed the narrative scaffolding of The Ballad of Tired Lukas, demonstrating how the biological realities of travel fatigue, the amygdala hijack, impair our social grace.
And how simulated failure, coupled with positive social reinforcement like the receptionist's smile, teaches the harsh pragmatic realities of liminal spaces.
And finally, we saw how gamification, specifically the brilliant, power-flipping design of the trap, pushes a vulnerable learner from passive, nodding compliance to active, empowered self-advocacy.
It serves as a masterclass in instructional design, revealing that teaching a language is never merely about teaching the literal meaning of words.
What is it about?
It is always about teaching the invisible choreography of human interaction.
The invisible choreography. That is exactly it. The next time you travel, the next time you walk into a hotel lobby, glide up to the front desk, effortlessly hand over your credit card, and secure your room key. I want you to stop.
Just for a second.
Take a single second to look at the person standing behind the desk and appreciate the incredibly complex, subtle, historically evolved social script you are both flawlessly executing.
It's really remarkable.
It is a script that an absolute beginner somewhere in the world right now has to painstakingly, painfully decode and practice syllable by terrified syllable.
Which leaves us with a fascinating, perhaps even unsettling thought to ponder as we close. We tend to think of our massive, interconnected global travel infrastructure as being held together by hard, infallible systems. Fiber optic cables spanning oceans, centralized database servers in massive server farms, international banking regulations, and multi-billion-dollar corporate real estate networks.
The heavy, invincible machinery of modern globalization.
Right. But if a basic, mechanically perfect phrase like, "I want a room," is universally recognized as a system-halting error, a breach of conduct so severe it must be explicitly trained out of beginners before they are allowed into the world, it raises a vital question.
What's the question?
How much of this massive global infrastructure is not actually held up by the computers, the servers, or the money, but rather by the incredibly fragile, universally shared human agreement to perform these small, polite linguistic dances with complete strangers?
Wow.
If we all suddenly stopped acting out the script, if we all reverted to our exhausted primal demands, would the servers matter at all, or would the whole system just grind to a halt at the front desk?
It's all just a fragile dance we agree to keep doing to keep the lights on. That is a beautiful, terrifying thought to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden world of a simple hello. Until next time, stay curious.